The Order of St. Dominic has inspired the faithful for 800 years, beginning in 1216 when Dominic de Guzman founded the Order of Preachers. Our story begins with St. Dominic. Dominic was born in Calaruga, Spain in 1170 to a family of nobility. Before his birth, his mother Jane of Azza dreamed of a hound racing through the world, igniting everything with a flaming torch. At his baptism, she saw a bright star upon his forehead. These foretold the evangelical future of St. Dominic. In 1184, he attended the University of Palencia and went on to become a canon regular at Osma. One day, the King of Spain ordered the Bishop of Osma, Juan Diego, to go to Norway and fetch a princess bride for his son. Traveling through southern France, they discovered that the people were afflicted with the most heinous heresy, Albigensianism, which held the belief of duality in the human condition, where association with the physical or material world was always evil. On the road, Dominic met an innkeeper who was caught in the darkness of the Albigensian heresy. Dominic was so moved by the man's plight that he stayed up all night talking to the innkeeper, and by morning had brought him back to the church. Bishop Diego and Dominic had discovered the extreme need for preaching the true faith. But the mission to Norway ended when the princess died before their arrival. Bishop Diego and Dominic shared a vision of the Order of Preachers, and together began working towards a change in the church practice of only bishops preaching. But Diego died, and Dominic was left to carry on alone. In fighting the heresy, Dominic found that women converted needed to be safeguarded against the evil influence of their own homes. To supply these deficiencies, St. Dominic, with the permission of the Bishop of Toulouse, established a convent at Proel in 1206. To this community, and afterwards to that of St. Sixtus at Rome, he gave the rule and constitutions which have ever since guided the nuns of the Order of St. Dominic. Laity who were inspired by Dominic's preaching were enlisted to support his efforts. On December 22, 1216, Pope Honorius III instituted the Order of Preachers. His order now an established body within the Church, Dominic returned to Toulouse and began the work of organizing his order. He placed his two principal houses near the universities of Paris and Bologna, and decided that each of his houses should form a school of theology, emphasizing the capital role that Dominicans would play in university studies. Dominic was gifted in being able to conceive his ideal, to form his men to that ideal, and to trust him completely. At the same time, it was said of him that his gentleness was such that anyone who came to speak to him, even for reproof, went away happier. The rest of Dominic's life was spent either in Rome, where he was given the Church of San Sisto, or traveling. Everywhere his communities were growing. In Rome, reforming various groups of nuns, Dominic gathered them at San Sisto in 1221. The men moved to Santa Sabina, which is still the residence of the Master General of the Order. At Pentecost in 1220, the first general chapter of the Order was held at Bologna, and a system of democratic representative government was devised. At the second general chapter, held on Pentecost in 1221, also at Bologna, the Order was divided geographically into provinces, which is how the Dominican Order is still organized today. After a visit to Venice in 1221, Dominic died at Bologna. Dominic was asked to be buried under the feet of his brethren, and was interred in the church of San Domenico in Bologna, in a simple sarcophagus under the church aisle. But the story doesn't end there. Dominican spirituality has blessed the church because of who Dominic was. Dominic conceived the idea, he planted the seed, and left it to grow under God's nurturing power. Many orders are about the spirituality of that one person who founded the order. Dominic never wanted it to be about him. He wanted the Order of Preachers to be about the mission, the salvation of souls. And so he structured the Dominican Order so that it would be free to grow as it was needed, to spread the gospel in any culture, any place, or any time. Dominic realized that to preach the gospel, a foundation was needed, so he built the order on 4 pillars: prayer, study, community, and preaching. We started with the life of Dominic because these 4 pillars are reflected in his life story. Prayer. Dominic's early life was a canon regular, where the monastic prayer life was richly lived. He was constantly praying in every aspect of his life and passed that on to the order. Study. He realized how important knowledge was to combat heresy. He made his first houses near universities and made them schools of theology. He had all members involved in study so they would have knowledge to combat heresy and speak the truth. Community. Dominic sent his friars out 2 by 2 so that they would always have community. He knew that the way would be hard and that they would need to support each other in the fight for souls. Even today, no professed Dominican is alone. All are connected to a community in one way or another. And finally, preaching. Dominicans cannot save souls if they are not speaking to others about Christ. But there are many ways to preach other than just in a homily. And Dominican spirituality is about finding your gift and how you can spread God's joyful news. May Dominic and his fellow Dominicans guide you to discern if their spirituality is your calling.